On September 21, 2025, former President Donald Trump shocked the world by demanding the Taliban return Bagram Airbase to the United States, a move that sent ripples through international politics. This demand was not just a simple request but a bold ultimatum that came with a stark warning. Trump warned, "Bad things are going to happen if they refused." His words were a clear signal of the potential consequences, hinting at severe repercussions that could follow. The Taliban's response was immediate and absolute. They rejected the ultimatum, declaring they would not surrender a single inch of Afghan soil. Their defiance was a statement of their sovereignty and a refusal to bow to external pressure. For Trump, Bagram's return is about correcting what he calls a catastrophic foreign policy failure, a failure that, in his view, undermined American strength and influence in the region. For the Taliban, holding the base is proof of their hard-won sovereignty. It symbolizes their victory over foreign forces and their control over Afghan territory. This standoff is more than a dispute over territory. It's a clash of narratives, pride, and power. Both sides are deeply entrenched in their positions, making compromise seem almost impossible. The timing is precarious, with global tensions already high and the risk of renewed conflict in Afghanistan looming. The international community watches closely, aware that any misstep could escalate into a larger crisis. Trump's demand, made outside official diplomatic channels, has forced the current U.S. administration and its allies into crisis mode. They are now scrambling to manage the fallout and navigate this complex geopolitical challenge. As the world watches, the future of U.S.-Taliban relations hangs in the balance. The outcome of this standoff could reshape the geopolitical landscape and have far-reaching implications for international relations. For nearly 20 years, Bagram Airbase stood as the nerve center of U.S. and NATO operations in Afghanistan, serving as the heart of military strategy and logistics in the region. It was more than just a military outpost. It was a symbol of international resolve and a hub for coalition forces from around the world. Sprawling across the plains north of Kabul, Bagram was a self-contained city, complete with multiple runways, fortified barracks, advanced command centers, and state-of-the-art facilities. Its infrastructure supported thousands of troops, aircraft, and vehicles, making it one of the most significant military installations outside the United States. But Bagram's true value was always rooted in its strategic location, positioned at a crossroads of regional power and influence. From this vantage point, the U.S. could project military power deep into Central Asia, monitor the sensitive western border of China, and keep a close watch on Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. The base enabled rapid response to emerging threats, and provided a launchpad for intelligence and surveillance missions across a vast, volatile region. When the U.S. withdrew hastily in 2021, it left behind not only billions of dollars in military equipment, but also a critical void in regional security architecture. That vacuum was quickly filled by the Taliban, who seized the base and its resources, instantly shifting the balance of power in Afghanistan. For military strategists, the loss of Bagram meant giving up a vital platform for launching counterterrorism operations, conducting surveillance, and gathering intelligence on extremist groups and rival states. Intelligence gathering in this volatile region became far more challenging, with fewer eyes and ears on the ground and in the skies. Today, as global competition intensifies and new threats emerge, Bagram's strategic importance has only grown. Its fate is closely watched by regional powers and global players alike. Former President Trump's demand to retake Bagram, while dramatic, reflects a deep sense of strategic loss and frustration that still lingers in Washington's halls of power. In the ever-shifting landscape of Central Asia, Bagram remains a coveted asset, one that any nation seeking influence in the region would prize, and whose legacy continues to shape the geopolitics of today. Trump's push for Bagram's return is driven by two fears: renewed terrorism and China's growing influence. He argues that abandoning Bagram left the U.S. exposed, unable to strike at threats like ISIS-K without local bases. More crucially, Trump points to Bagram's proximity to China, calling it a lost opportunity to monitor Beijing's military ambitions. Washington now worries China could establish its own presence at Bagram, turning a U.S. loss into a Chinese gain. Trump's ultimatum is as much about countering China as confronting the Taliban, resonating with Americans anxious about diminished U.S. power. Whether serious policy or political theater, the demand has reignited debate over America's global standing. Bagram is now the focal point of a new great power rivalry. The Taliban's rejection of Trump's ultimatum is rooted in national pride and the hard-fought narrative of independence. For them, Bagram is the ultimate symbol of victory over foreign occupation. Handing it back would be unthinkable. Taliban leaders invoked the 2020 Doha Agreement, reminding the U.S. of its commitment not to threaten Afghanistan's sovereignty. By referencing this deal, the Taliban turn America's own promises against it, framing Trump's demand as a violation. Bagram is now a monument to Taliban success, showcased in parades and propaganda. Yet the Taliban signal openness to political and economic engagement with the West, just not military concessions. Their message: Afghanistan is open for business but not for occupation. The standoff is a calculated assertion of sovereignty and a test of diplomatic resolve. China is watching the Bagram standoff closely, aware that U.S. anxieties center on Beijing's potential gains. American officials fear China could use the power vacuum to secure resources, or even establish a presence at Bagram, shifting the regional balance. Beijing has condemned Trump's ultimatum, framing it as destabilizing and interventionist. The Taliban, meanwhile, deny any plans to allow Chinese military involvement, insisting Bagram remains under Afghan control. Still, the prospect of deeper Sino-Afghan ties, through investment or intelligence sharing, troubles Washington. China's Belt and Road Initiative sees Afghanistan as a key link, and a stable Kabul could serve Beijing's long-term goals. Even without a Chinese base, the U.S. fears losing influence in a region now open to new power plays. Bagram is more than just a military base. It's a powerful symbol representing decades of conflict, shifting power, and the enduring struggle for control in Afghanistan. Its very name conjures images of war, occupation, and the dreams and disappointments of foreign powers who have come and gone. Originally built by the Soviets during their occupation, Bagram was later expanded into a sprawling fortress by the United States. Now, it stands under Taliban control. Each era of Bagram's history tells a story of foreign intervention, Afghan resistance, and the relentless cycle of outside forces trying to shape the country's destiny. For Americans, the chaotic abandonment of Bagram in 2021 was more than a logistical failure. It felt like a national humiliation broadcast to the world. For the Taliban, capturing Bagram was the ultimate vindication, a moment that signaled the end of foreign dominance and the return of Afghan control. But Bagram's legacy is also dark. The base housed a notorious detention center where stories of abuse and indefinite imprisonment fueled deep resentment among Afghans. The scars of airstrikes and military operations linger in the memories of those who lived nearby, making Bagram a symbol of pain as much as power. Today, Bagram stands as a trophy for the Taliban and a scar for the United States, a physical reminder of victory for one side and a bitter defeat for the other. Its runways and watchtowers are now silent witnesses to the shifting tides of history. When Donald Trump calls for retaking Bagram, it's not just about military strategy, it's about restoring lost prestige and rewriting the narrative of American withdrawal. For the Taliban, holding Bagram is non-negotiable, a matter of pride and proof of their victory. The dispute over Bagram is less about tactical advantage and more about history, identity, and national pride. It's a contest over who gets to define Afghanistan's future and who must live with its past. This deep symbolism ensures that the standoff over Bagram is far more than a simple tactical disagreement. It's a struggle over meaning, memory, and the soul of a nation. Trump's ultimatum has rattled allies and adversaries alike. The UK and European partners, wary of unpredictable US moves, fear being dragged into a new crisis. Regional neighbors, Pakistan, Iran, and Central Asian states, dread renewed conflict and instability on their borders. China and Russia see opportunities to strengthen ties with the Taliban, contrasting their stability with US aggression. Reports of US military aircraft over Afghanistan have fueled speculation about possible escalation. For now, the world watches anxiously, uncertain if this war of words will ignite into something far more dangerous. The international community remains on edge, hoping for restraint but preparing for fallout. The Bagram standoff stands at a crossroads: escalation or dialogue. Military action would trigger catastrophic conflict, destabilizing Afghanistan and the region. More likely is a tense standoff, a new Cold War between the US and Taliban, with sanctions, surveillance, and shifting alliances. The Taliban may drift closer to China or Russia, deepening US strategic anxieties. Yet, a narrow path to dialogue remains. The Taliban's reference to the Doha Agreement hints at possible engagement on shared interests like counterterrorism. Real diplomacy would require both sides to step back from maximalist demands and focus on achievable goals. The fate of Bagram is a test of power, pride, and vision. Its outcome will shape Afghanistan's future and its ties to the West. The world waits to see which path will be chosen.